is there something that you teach your agents in terms of like a process when they're working with the seller or even going that you want to share?
I really believe in systems. So I believe, especially with expireds, and well, with anything, it's in the follow up, right? So you can't just call an expired once. So I know y'all have been around a long time and heard the story, that the first person that everybody calls them on the first day, and then what, two or three on the second and third day. And then if you're the one that continues to call, you're the one that's going to get the listing. So the systems and the follow-up are what's so important for buyers and sellers, and the key to success. You don't call a person on the first call and get the listing or the buyer or make the sale. Sometimes you do. You're lucky if you do. But mostly it's after many attempts.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of Vulcan 7 Coaches and Mentors, a show where we bring you some of the best tips and strategies so that you can implement them in your business right now. For today's show, I have an awesome guest. Let me welcome Betty Gills.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on today.
Yes, thank you, Betty. So for anyone that's watching that maybe is not familiar with you, can you share with us a little bit about who you are, how long you've been in this business, and anything else you want us to know?
Do I have to say how long I've been in the business?
You don't have to if you want.
A long time. I stopped counting. Since 1985, I've been in the business. So I got started early on, and Ren Jones was my coach a long time ago.
That's awesome.
I built my career on expired listings almost from the beginning. So I've been a part of the Vulcan 7 and Espresso network. I've gone through every coaching training program that you can imagine. And I've just been around the block a lot of times, learned what works, what doesn't work, and still learning.
Of course. And now you're doing coaching and you're helping agents, right?
I am. I'm also building a team with EXP, and I coach. I was with Tom Ferry for 7 years. I just recently resigned so I could focus back on recruiting and building my team. I'm still in production. I do still call in expired listings to this day.
Awesome. That's great, because a lot of the agents that watch this perhaps are working with buyers and they want to start to make that transition to working with sellers. And we know that expireds for sale by owners are the low-hanging fruit that they can go after. So for you, what would you perhaps tell these agents that want to make that transition, but are perhaps maybe hesitant or scared about going after these lead sources?
To me, and this has been early on in my career, I did focus on listings, just because for me, it was more time efficient, and I would get buyers naturally from all the listings that I took. And as my team grew, I just focused more and more on listings. But I find that that expired listings, and there's so many ways to get listings these days, expireds right now are just such a great source, because we've gone through these last 3 years of crazy sales and not as many expireds, and now things just are not selling like they were. I don't know if this is true all over the country, but in most places. And so the buyers are not as many. And so if you have a listing, it's just even more gold right now. And I think people are just looking for good advice. So as you come in as a consultant and a counselor and an advisor, it's so nice and refreshing to have someone come in and take the listings that will talk to the sellers, tell them what's exactly is going on. And for many times, the sellers were saying, okay, I want to price my home at a certain amount, and they could just almost price it anywhere and it would sell. And that's not the case now. It has to be priced very competitively.
Absolutely. So pre-qualifying these sellers to make sure that they're serious and motivated is something that agents have to do. Is there something that you teach your agents in terms of like a process when they're working with the seller or even going that you want to share?
I don't, in my personality, I don't have too much analytical in my blood, right? So, but I really believe in systems,
Mhm.
and I work with a virtual assistant, and also some people that are with me in my organization that have the skills that I'm missing, right? So I believe, especially with expireds, and well, with anything, it's in the follow-up, right? So you can't just call an expired once. So I know y'all have been around a long time and heard the story, that the first person that everybody calls them on the first day, and then what, two or three on the second and third day. And then if you're the one that continues to call, you're the one that's going to get the listing. So the systems and the follow-up are what's so important for buyers and sellers, and the key to success, I believe, in everything: recruiting, listings, sales. You don't call a person on the first call and get the listing or the buyer or make the sale. Sometimes you do.
Mhm.
You're lucky if you do, but
Yeah.
mostly it's after many attempts.
Yeah, definitely. You never know. I mean, it might happen on that rare occasion, and that's why you have to be ready with your skills. So let's talk a little bit about skills and preparation.
Mhm.
What are some things that agents need to be doing to be better at with their skills? Because I believe that if they have good skills, that leads to more confidence to be able to pick up the phone and call these leads.
100%. And I'm a big advocate of, people say, I don't want to follow a script. I think people don't make the initial call because they don't know what to say. So if you can practice the first thing that you're going to say and get really good and natural at that, and then listen to what they say, and you don't have to go on the script, you have a little outline, but you can, I think the reason I have been so successful over the years is I wasn't thinking about what I was going to say. I was listening to them and what they needed and responding appropriately, right?
Mhm.
So I had to memorize all the scripts. So I'm not saying that you don't know the scripts, but I've just been doing it so long that it just is natural that I want to pre-qualify. I want to find out their motivation. I want to find out their needs. I want to find out what happened if they were an expired listing, or, what's their situation? What's their motivation? Are they motivated?
Mhm.
Because that's the key. Are they motivated to sell? What's the motivation? Because we can work with everything else, but if there's no motivation and they want to, crazy overprice the property, it isn't going to work. Right.
No, it's going to come off as expired, and you might be known as that agent that couldn't sell that house.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you mentioned listening, because I think even agents, as they're starting out with making calls, they have the script in front of them, and many times they're so focused on the next line to say that they forget to listen to what the seller is saying. And many times they'll tell you everything that you need to know without you having to ask the same question.
Exactly. I just had this call, and now the AI, when you get these automated calls when they're, recorded, now it's like a real person is on the call, but it's automated to the fact, I guess they know what you're going to say, and then they respond, and you go, you can tell that they didn't have a clue what you just said. It was an automated thing. And that's how I think people feel when an agent calls
Mhm.
them on a script that they don't know the script and they don't feel heard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, I
Exactly.
remember one time I had this huge listing. It was my biggest listing. And the lady said, you won't believe all these agents are calling me. Like, I'm an agent too, but she didn't think I was one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. That's so funny. Yes. Now I know that you mentioned that right now you're still in production.
Hmm.
So what does your day look like if you want to share?
Yeah. When I was coaching, I had 40 clients, and I just quit. Like, it's going to be a year in September, or I said quit, or am not coaching that many people now.
Mhm.
I don't have 40 people, but when I was coaching, I had at 8 o'clock a client. At 8:30, I couldn't be 1 minute late. Right. So I've learned to stay on a schedule, which is it's freeing.
Mhm.
So I continue to keep that schedule. Like, I will lead generate for recruits for an hour, And then, I'll schedule my day, because if I don't schedule my day, the day just goes without me knowing what I've accomplished, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that happens all the time. I think a lot of times, even myself, it has happened where we know of so many things that we have to do, but if it's not in the calendar or if it's not time blocked, sometimes it doesn't get done or you forget about it. So, yes, having a schedule, knowing your routine is very important. So, we're talking lead generation, what you're doing now in terms of mindset, because I
mhm.
think that's very important, especially in this business. This business is not for everybody, and you can be very discouraged if you get, someone over the phone. So, what can agents do to work on their mindset?
Great question. I've just always been a seminar goer. I've always had a coach. I've always read books. I love that. That's just something that stimulates me. If I'm in a slump, I usually look around and I'm alone, if that makes sense. Like, you reach out to people who are just inspirational. When you're alone, I've been with a coach for 2 or 3 years and I'm making a change and I'm in between coaches or in between programs, that's when I find myself not if I'm not accountable,
Hmm.
that's when I get in a slump.
Yes, yes. I'm glad that right now we're talking about coaching and that you just mentioned that, because it seems like a lot of agents, they want to get that next deal, but they're hesitant about coaching or getting a coach or investing in themselves. So what would you say to that agent that's, on that peak, like what
Yeah.
would you say so that they take that leap and invest?
It's so worth it. It is just absolutely, I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't gotten into coaching early on. Like
Mhm.
Mike Ferry was my first coach when he just began his coaching program. And, like that's, even though I had I was with a company, it was a great company. It just was somebody who cared just about me, my coach,
Mhm.
and that got to know me personally and could bring me back on track.
Yeah. And many times, they're going to teach you things that are going to make the learning curve shorter. So instead of you trying to figure things out or spend thousands of dollars on something that maybe doesn't work, maybe the hundreds or thousands of dollars that you spend with the coach is going to be so much worth it in the long run and lead you to
Absolutely. Yeah.
success. Yeah, which is what you do now with agents that you coach as well, right?
Mhm.
Can you tell
Um,
us more?
I love what I sort of discovered this. Tom Ferry had a seminar, and we all broke into mastermind groups. And so I was coaching 40 or 50 agents at the time. So I got about 10 uh, clients who I thought would get together, would work well together. And I was still individually coaching them, but I brought them in together to a mastermind. And this was 3 or 4 years ago. That group is still together. And, they have made amazing progress just between themselves. Just
Mhm.
hearing, you think, well, she can do that, I can do that. And I found that groups, like sometimes you have these group programs where the speaker just speaks, and you learn, which is training, which is good. I have such a short attention span that doesn't work for me. I like interaction.
Yes,
So
me too.
most of my coaching now I do in groups. So I like to keep 8 to 10 in a group. And then like you get more input, and I like to get the people together that have things in common or that can complement each other.
Mhm.
So most of my coaching now is in groups like that.
And it's virtual. Can you tell us a little bit more in case
Mhm.
people are interested in,
Mhm.
in joining you?
Yeah, so I have all sorts of groups. It just depends on the intensity that
Mhm.
you want to, what you want. I mean, I still do individual coaching, and I still do I coach some teams, not very many, and then my groups and my partners that I work through, and then I get together groups, and we focus on. I would say it's similar to, like, I don't like to have it go the whole year. It's like a 90-day program. And then people can sign up again for it, right? They can go through the 90 days, But I find people start, if they can keep up something for 90 days, then they're going to make they're going to make a really big difference. Like if you can do a diet for 90 days, right?
Mhm.
Or you can make your calls for 90 days straight. You can make it through the 90 days. It's sort of like based on that 12-week yearbook.
Yeah.
Where you get more done in 90 days than you can in the whole year because you have that goal. And so we focus on a couple of major things, not 20,000, but a couple of major things that we want to accomplish. And then you can go to the next group if you want to, but like you have something to show for it after 90 days.
That's awesome. And it would be focusing on listings or buyers and sellers, a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I get a compatible group. So some people might be focused on recruiting. It does center around some kind of accountability. You got to report back to the group.
Yeah.
So if it's like we know that if you make so many contacts a day, you're gonna get that many listings, or if you make so many recruiting calls, you'll get that many people. So it's
Yeah.
based on that. And people they also pick personal goals too. Like if they want to lose weight, or if they want to, change, like you said, a mindset, something that's going on with them mindset wise. So they pick 2 at the most 3 goals that they want to work on in that 3-month cycle.
That's awesome. So before we wrap it up, let's say
Mhm.
there's an agent, they're ready to take their business to the next level,
Mhm.
but they're unsure of what their schedule should look
Mhm.
like. Can you kind of lay it out from like the moment they wake up to when they go to sleep with
Ah,
that?
well, I'm a big proponent in the Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod, like getting up and taking that. I get up at 5 o'clock and I get all of the things out of the way. Well, I don't say out of the way because I enjoy them, like meditation, exercise, getting everything ready, reading.
Mhm.
Like he talks about savers, I think, silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, or relaxation, and scrolling,
Mhm.
journaling
Awesome.
in the morning.
In the
And
morning.
then I like to do the thing that I don't like to do the most, which is lead generation. It's not that I like doing it actually when I do it, but it's the hardest thing to force
Yeah.
myself to do. And I've found that over the years, that's true for my clients as well. Get that out the way and have it be like an appointment. And I learned that from Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Ren, everybody I've ever coached with, get the things that you have difficulty implementing out of the way first.
Mhm.
And I like to get all of that done by noon so that I can have some flexibility in the afternoon. So my mornings are very structured and my afternoons are pretty flexible.
Okay. So then if you do end up setting any appointments, those would be happening in the afternoon.
Exactly. And it's a habit. People say, well, like so-and-so wants that. I found that if you get this in your mind that you're going to lead generate from 9 to 11 and you tell people, they understand.
Mhm.
It's an excuse in a lot of ways that you can't get that in because you set that up for yourself. So the excuses that people say, I can't stay structured like that because you don't know my clients. Well, probably the most productive people are the most structured people.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's all about having standards and boundaries as well for your business so that your
Yes,
clients know when to reach out to you or when they can get a hold of you or not, and be
exactly.
respectful of your time.
Exactly. And like I never understood like that a lot of my clients would talk to their clients like at 11 o'clock at night or midnight. I'm thinking like, I'm asleep at 9. So they
Yeah.
can't call me,
Mhm.
I wouldn't answer the phone.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever had anybody say, I tried to call you at 9:30 and you didn't answer. I don't think that's ever happened. You know?
Absolutely. No, I agree. Yeah. No. And again, it goes back to having those boundaries and standards and knowing up until what time are you willing to take those calls. Because what
Exactly.
I have noticed is that the moment that you take that call at 9:30, now they think that they can call you at that time. And
Or
when you
that's
don't
exactly.
answer, they're
Yeah.
going to think, oh, well, why isn't she answering? Oh, the world's falling apart. And it really isn't. So, yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. So Betty, to wrap it up, if anyone does want to join your coaching, where can they find you? What's your website? Tell us all about it.
It's bettygales.com, my name. And that takes you to my real estate site. But my email is also my name, bettygales@gmail. And my cell phone, I don't know, can I just say what it is? I don't know
if you'd like.
Okay, 843-270-8193. And that's the only phone I have, and I do answer. Unless it looks like a vendor. I don't know how.
Unless it's at 9:30 p.m. or 11.
Exactly.
And then can you mention once again where it is that you are located, just in case anyone?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Charleston, South Carolina. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So Betty's information will be in the description box below in case you need to get a hold of her, join her coaching. Betty, once again, thank you so much for doing this interview. We hope that you had a great time, and everyone that's watching, we hopefully hope that you took a lot of notes. We'll see you on the next one.
Great to meet you and talk with you. Have a great day.